Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin Pete here. Happy Thursday to everybody. I made a video the other day and mentioned that the interstate was shut down in Charleston, one of the two main interstates that run through all the heart of Charleston. And we just found out it's going to be closed for 4 more weeks because of a bridge that needs repaired. So I'm guessing that bridge was probably built by Georgia Tech students based on what happened in Atlanta not that long ago. But anyway, in that video, I went through the top 25 list of the best head coaches in the country, according to some Nimrod at CBS Sports. On that list, I had mentioned and went a little bit in depth into Bill Snyder being number 12. And I wanted to make a video on Bill Snyder today because I got a little bit of pushback about Bill Snyder being, having success at Kansas State, and that's why he's ranked so high on that list. Well, let's go a little bit deeper into Bill Snyder. First and foremost, Bill Snyder is 79 years old. He was born in 1939. Now, I don't know about you, but where I come from, that's elderly. Now, I'm sure Bill Snyder is a great guy. I'm sure he's done all kinds of great things for Kansas State. But he's old as dirt. Now let's talk about his success at Kansas State. It depends on how you define success. Yeah, when he took over that program, it was one of the worst in the country. But he's been there as a head coach for a total of 26 years. So he coached for 16 years, took a couple years off, and then was rehired and has coached for 10 more years since then. So total of 28 years, but 26 years as head coach. In that 26 years, let's look at his biggest accomplishments. And we always judge accomplishments as far as head coaching goes, as conference titles, big bowl wins, and of course now playoff wins and national titles. So in 26 long years of being on the sideline as head coach at Kansas State University, Bill Snyder has a whopping 2 conference titles. That's right, 2 Big 12 titles in 26 years. Now, if you're a Kansas State fan and your expectation is to win 2 conference titles every 26 years, then that's your prerogative. But if you're a Power 5 football program and that's your expectation, if your expectation is not to try to compete for conference titles every year and eventually win national titles, then what's the point? Let's look at another coach. Big name coach who stayed too long at his university, Joe Paterno. Now, I'm not going to even get into all the scandal with Sandusky and all that. It has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. But let's be real here. Joe Paterno was sitting up. He couldn't even stand on the sideline. He was so old there at the end. And they weren't as successful as they were in his younger years. He stayed too long too. And this is what needs to happen in Kansas State. They need to get rid of the guy. Say, look, man, we appreciate everything you've done for us, but you're old and we need to move on. So I have a local story that I can relate to this. And some of you real football nuts out there may know who I'm talking about. So there was a guy in the city I grew up in. I grew up in Summerville, South Carolina, just outside of Charleston. It's the school, Summerville High School is where A.J. Green went. Carlos Dunlap went to my school, which was Summerville High School's biggest rival, just a few miles away. But the winningest high school football coach in the history of high school football in America is a guy named John McKissick from Summerville, South Carolina. Coached at Summerville for like 70 years straight. He coached until he was 90. Had something like 10,000 wins or some crazy crap like that. I mean, he's so far ahead of the guy in second place for the amount of wins he had in his life that it will never be caught. I mean, who can coach for 70 years? That is unheard of. This guy was such a brutal head coach who wanted to win so bad. There was all kinds of scandals throughout his life that he was basically doing like college coaches, recruiting out of state, trying to get great talent to move here from other states to play at his school. He won, I don't even know how many state titles. I mean, dozens of state titles. And the dude was ruthless, but he stayed there too long. He was like a local celebrity here. He got a bunch of offers to go coach Division I college football. and turned him down. He had a great life here. He probably wasn't making a whole lot of money, but he was like a rock star in Somerville. I mean, I'm sure he never paid for a meal. You know, the dude had it made. But the last, say, 10 years of his head coaching stint there, he was not really a head coach. He was more of a figurehead. He was too old to be a head coach. I mean, he hired other coaches to actually coach the team, and he just stood there on the sidelines looking like old grandpa. And that's what's going on now at Kansas State. This guy just looks like he's about to fall down and break a hip. I don't want to see a coach die on the sideline. I mean, seriously, the dude, when you get that old, you could have a heart attack at any moment. I don't want that to happen. I'm just saying, imagine what that would be like if the dude had a heart attack on the field on Saturday afternoon during a game. That would be crazy. So anyway, my point is, don't get on here and tell me that Bill Snyder is one of the top 12 current coaches in the country. He's not. He might have been 15, 20 years ago. He's not now. He's old. They're not going to win any conference titles as long as he stays there. And if you can't win a conference title, you're not going to get any further than that. It's time for the dude to go. Give him some coupons to Golden Corral and tell him thank you, but no thank you. Who knows? Maybe he'll get fired and Nick Saban will hire him. Pigskin Pete checking out.